Hi, Dana. It's Cheryl, your sister-in-law. I was calling you about Easter. I was thinking since Jimmy isn't with us, we could do an Italian feast because Jimmy loves Italian food. Even though he's in jail, I think it's important we honor him. So I was thinking making spaghetti and meatballs. I went out and I got the good Giant Eagle tomato sauce. I don't know how it's different from the dollar store brand, but I guess your pal's more sophisticated than mine. And I got some hamburgers left over from last 4th of July, which I can turn into meatballs. And I thought rather than do garlic bread, I'm going to do cheesy bread. I sent your nephew Doug out to get me a loaf of Wonder Bread and some Kraft singles. I could do with the dollar store brand, but I know you got a more sophisticated palate, so we're going to get the Kraft singles. On Easter Sunday, don't come over too early because I gotta go out to prison to visit Jimmy. We're gonna have a conjugal visit. You know, it's Easter and the Lord hath risen. I hope your brother's risen too, if you know what I mean. But right now, I thought we'd have a Jello salad for dessert, and I'm making that right now. And I just think, oh God, fucking damn it, Dana, I'm gonna have to go. I just dropped my cigarette ash in this here Jello mold, and you know what? Honest to God, I don't know. I'm gonna pick it out. I think I'm just gonna throw chocolate chips in there and hope nobody noticed. But anyways, call me back just to let me know you got this. This is your sister-in-law Cheryl. Love you. Bye. And welcome back, spooky friends, to episode 29 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual. And oh my god, I love those voicemail cold opens. They are so funny.
But here's the thing, you hear it and you just go, I've definitely gotten a voicemail like that from a relative.
Right. I have a lot of relatives like that. But it's iconic. I love it. It's so funny.
I love Cheryl and Dana. I think Cheryl and Dana have to become regulars on the podcast.
Honestly, it's so Tammy coded. If you don't know Tammy, Trailer Trash Tammy on YouTube, obviously, the icon, the legend. Love her.
Also the way on our episode with Tristan, how we had the first one from Dana, and how in this one we finally hear from Cheryl what Dana's name is.
Oh, okay, so there's some lore behind it.
Yeah, because in the first one it was Dana leaving a voicemail for her child.
Oh.
But she never mentioned her name. It was, hey, it's Mom. And now from Cheryl's leaving a voice message for Dana.
Honestly, if you never even said anything, I never would have caught that.
See, this has to be my TikTok. Like, if TikTok isn't banned by the time this is out, this has to be the way I get big on TikTok. Just, like, dressing up in bad middle-aged woman trying to just, hey, Dana, it's me, your sister-in-law, Cheryl.
Oh my god. If TikTok gets banned, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
For reference, we're recording this on March the 23rd, so things are very much up in the air right now.
Right. And we're recording so early because...
Why?
What?
Why?
We're recording so early because I'm going to Ireland!
Wow!
Top of the morning to ya.
Oh my god.
I hope I get to meet the Lucky Charms guy.
Oh my god.
Wait,
wasn't his name just Lucky?
I don't fucking know. I don't know about his lore. Does he have lore?
He does have lore. He has a lot of lore.
Honestly though, smash or pass? Smash.
Oh my god. Okay. So, Paul, did you eat Lucky Charms as a child?
I did, but I didn't like them. I didn't like the marshmallows. I know everyone loves the marshmallows, but I hated them.
No, I can see that because when the all marshmallows came out, I was like, God fucking no, because I don't particularly like marshmallows. I like a good s'more every now and again.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I hate marshmallows. And as you all know, like, Barry Keoghan is the hot guy of the month for April. Yeah. And part of him being hot guy of the month is because I am going to Ireland. And he's like...
Irish.
Yeah, he's the Irish fellow. He's like one of the biggest Irish actors right now. Wait, should I just go into hot guy of the month? Well,
yeah, might as well.
Okay, let's go. Let's start with Barry Keoghan, hot guy of the month. So, today I really wanted to talk about Barry Keoghan's acting chops because he has been in a lot of major films.
Yeah.
Like, not only just like war movies and action-y movies, like, he was in Batman.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was in Batman. He was
What Batman?
Oh, I had to pull it up. Let me pull it up.
Jesus fucking Christ, what Batman?
He was in the 2022 Batman.
There's a 2022 Batman.
The Batman 2022. And he not only does these like intense war movies, he does intense drama movies like Killing of a Sacred Deer and of course Saltburn. Everybody knows Saltburn. And I think that takes a lot of talent to go from like these intense war movies to intense like drama sexual movies because it takes a lot of range.
Oh. Sorry, I just looked up. He's in the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. But no, he has a lot of range as an actor. And he really is an amazing actor. And he really is not afraid to go there. As like everybody knows, like that grave scene in Saltburn where he really just violates that grave, that was not in the script.
Yeah, that was completely improvised.
Right. So he has something that a lot of people can't access and a lot of actors can't access. He really knows how to get into the mind of a character and really be that person and really take it there. And I think that is what separates a good actor from a great actor. Barry Keoghan really has what it takes to take it there. And he is an amazing actor. And it also helps that he's attractive. Now, one thing about Barry Keoghan, though, is he's medium ugly. And hot take, a guy has to be a little bit ugly to be hot.
See, I wouldn't say he's medium ugly. I'd say he's medium hot.
Either way, it goes
It's
back...
a little more positive.
True. I mean, either way, it goes back to a guy has to be a little bit ugly to be hot.
I will say this about Barry Keoghan. He's one of those people who doesn't photograph well. You have to see him, like, in movement to understand how attractive he is.
Yeah, in certain lights and things, and like he is very attractive, but you have to see him in that certain light. And I think we really do see that in Saltburn, where he's very kind of like nerdy and awkward and ugly in the beginning.
But he evolves, yeah.
And you get to see his very attractive side. And you know what? I stand by what I said. A guy has to be a little bit ugly to be hot.
Yeah,
and I stand by that.
I love a short king with a big dick.
Right, we all saw that ending Saltburn scene where we saw that.
It's murder on the dance floor.
Better not kill the groove. Okay, we can't be doing all that. We don't want to get demonetized. So to avoid that, DJ, how's your week?
It's not monetized because we're singing, not Sophie, whatever. My week was fine. My grandfather recently had knee surgery.
Oh, knee surgery. Okay.
So he's been recovering, and I've been helping him in his recovery. But
and he won't let me keep the old knee for whatever reason. Your grandfather's very protective of his knee for whatever knows why.
I don't know where the kneecap went. Although last night I did ask him. I said, "Does the new knee feel weird? Like, does it feel foreign?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, he's like, "Sometimes it's painful." And I was like, "But does it feel weird? Like, can you tell you have a foreign object in your body?" And he was like, "Not until you said that."
Oh my gosh.
But also, it's just a delight living with Bill and Rose because I told them that on Sunday I would make dinner for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because every once in a while, like on a Sunday, I make dinner for them just because on Saturdays I go out with friends and my grandmother cooks dinner all the other times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to them, well, I have two signature dishes. I could make pasta carbonara the Roman way, or I could make baked chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, I said I'd make pasta. My grandmother said, why didn't you make the chicken? I said, well, let's ask Pap, and he'll be the tiebreaker. So he was in the kitchen. I was like, Pap, what do you want for dinner on Sunday? Do you want pasta carbonara or chicken? What?
Jesus.
Do you want pasta or chicken on Sunday? Why?
Oh my god.
And I said, I'm cooking. We need to know what to get out of the freezer. And he said, what are the options? Pasta with bacon or chicken like I make? Chicken!
Oh my god. Jeez.
Because he has no earthly idea what pasta with bacon is.
What do you mean?
So there was a restaurant that used to be by us that had pasta carbonara, but it was just pasta alfredo with bacon put in it.
Mm-hmm.
But pasta carbonara is not Alfredo. Alfredo is not Italian at all. It's American.
Oh, really?
Yes. So pasta carbonara is pasta with a sauce made out of Romano, Parmesan, bacon, olive oil, and egg.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of pasta water to just creaming it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Alfredo is the American version of that, but it uses cream and cheese to make it like far creamier.
Yeah.
But I made you pasta carbonara once, and it's just this delightfully light sauce.
See, I like the American way. I like the cream. I like a little extra cream in there.
See, no, I love the Italian way because it's just enough cheese, but it's super peppery, and I love black pepper.
See, I just like cream.
We know you. Well,
I like to cream things.
we know you like to cream things, Mr. Top.
Yup.
Well, on that note, shall we drink?
Yep, let's get into it.
So this week, our paranormal pairing is Phantom. It is a proprietary, red from California. We call it the Phantom, a ghostly figure that wanders the boggle cellars at night, fleeting glimpses of muddy work boots and blue jeans, then gone. Does the Phantom really exist? Yes. Has it inspired us? Absolutely. Wild berries and black pepper are framed by the influence of oak with baking spices and a hint of toasty vanilla.
Why did you read that so sensually?
I think it was ever since that Seven Deadly Cab.
Mm-hmm.
I've read them just sensually.
It sounded like you were on like a phone sex line.
Oh, baby, I'm so tight. Loosen me up.
Oh my god. Do you think I'm funny, Daddy? Do you think I'm hilarious?
Who's ready from Seducers? I messed it up.
Wait, what do you think Cheryl would sound like on the phone line?
Hey, I'm Cheryl, bitch.
Not Cher, Cheryl. Is it the
Cheryl?
person you do for the...
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Cheryl. You want a sex call? All right. Well, right now I'm wearing my granny panties and my brassiere. Right now I could really do with I like a dick on the smaller end. It's better for the man that way because I can't take a big dick very long.
I have a very shallow vagina. It's kind of like a Budweiser bottle.
I didn't say she had a shallow vagina. I just said Cheryl's a wimp.
I like the Budweiser bottle thing. I think it's more fitting.
That was pretty good.
That was a good pop.
I will say for the Lizzie Borden series, we kept saying they were so good, but when I listened back to them, they weren't that fabulous.
What can you do? Some things are just better in person.
But do you know what always hits the spot?
The ASMR pour.
Okay.
I mean...
It's clean. Oh. Okay, hit me. I got it.
You know, the bottle's pretty.
I'm gonna give it a 3. It's nothing special. It's a red blend.
I'm gonna give it a 2.5, and the bottle's pretty, and that's where they get the half.
It's nothing special. It's very clean. It's nice and light to drink.
Yeah, honestly...
For a red blend, because a lot of people talk about reds being heavy or dry. It's a little dry on the aftertaste.
This one's not my favorite, guys. I'm sorry. Honestly, get this one for the bottle, though. The bottle's fucking cool. Go to our Instagram. Look at what the bottle looks like. It's a very cool bottle. If you're having a Halloween party, get this wine. I promise you, if your friends actually like steal it out of your wine cabinet and drink it, you're not gonna be disappointed. Like, it's very that, guys. Nothing
It
groundbreaking, but the
happened.
bottle's cool. 2.5.
That's something that happened to us.
Right. Ugh.
All right. Well, on that note, Paul, let me tell you a story.
Let's get into it.
In the picturesque mountains lays what seems to be a castle rising out of the landscape. This seemingly out-of-place building was erected as a place of solace to heal people of their ailments with fresh mountain air and sweeping views. But soon, it was filled far beyond its capacity and became a den of depravity and chaos, leaving a legacy which lingers to this very day. Today, we're going to discuss the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yes! In good old Weston, West Virginia, y'all. Get into it. Speaking of which, I guess our cold open was perfect for a West Virginia place.
Yes.
Perfect.
And can we pause this? I gotta pee again.
Sure.
So I don't know if we're gonna cut out the fact that DJ had to take a pee break because he has to piss like a pregnant woman, but
I think we should leave it in. I think it makes us more human, more relatable.
it does. The fact that DJ broke the seal and it's now everyone's problem.
You know, we've all broken the seal before. It happens.
For those of you who don't know, because Paul's going to Ireland, we're recording very far in advance, and it is late March, and we had just recorded our April Fool's bonus episode.
Which was a lot of fun. That was cool. My first research episode.
It was, and it turned out really well.
Thank you.
Although, at first we tried to like be each other and just read each other, but like call each, like I was still DJ, but like I was pretending to be Paul, and he was like coming at me for like Paul things, and I was coming at him for DJ things, but still calling him Paul. And we didn't like that, so we had to re-record after a whole glass of wine.
Yeah. But, you know, it turned out for the better, and it is what it is.
Yeah, and now we're on this super special episode, which I consider to be a collaboration. Because, Paul, you've been here.
Yeah, I've actually been to the Lunatic Asylum, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah,
I visited. I took a good old ghost tour, so I have some good experience.
Yeah, so I went very heavy on the history because it has a very haunted history. And then I do have ghost stories, but I mainly want the ghost section to be you talking about your experiences. So let's get into the history.
Let's go!
So the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was established by the Virginia General Assembly in the early 1850s. It was designed by a man named Richard Snowden Andrews from Baltimore. To understand what a prolific architect he was, he had also designed Maryland's governor's residence and the south wing of the United States Treasury Building in Washington, D.C. Andrews consulted the superintendent of the Pennsylvania Hospital for the Insane, Thomas Story Kirkbride, who was a huge person in American mental. He came up with an idea for the treatment of mental illness in the early to mid 1800s. And he had a number of theories on how light and air circulation could heal mental illness. And he came up with a plan for mental hospitals to facilitate this, which are called the Kirkbride Plan. And actually, a number of hospitals were built according to his theories and plans, and they're called Kirkbride hospitals, and they were numerous in the mid-19th century and are noted for their bat wing layout, where you had a central structure, and the wings kind of were slightly set back and slightly set back like bat wings.
Okay. And I kind of get that theory too, because there's nothing like going outside and getting fresh air, getting that nice fresh breath.
This was the time when fresh air was the cure for everything, because there were also a number of tuberculosis hospitals open with the same idea that fresh air is all that you need.
Right.
Construction for the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum began in 1858 along the banks of the West Fork River in Weston, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
At this time, it was Weston, Virginia.
Oh, they weren't West Virginia yet. Oh, girl. Okay.
The initial work was conducted by prison laborers, including, according to one newspaper article, by 7 convicted Negroes. That is not my phrase. That is an exact quote from the newspaper.
That's crazy. They were wilding in Virginia before it was West Virginia. Not that.
Later, skilled stonemasons from Ireland, Germany were brought in to complete the Tudor and Gothic revival decor.
Okay.
Because this was the time when, like, it was designed to be beautiful as well as functional.
It's feng shui. It's giving feng shui.
See, I was just talking about this when I was in Virginia. Or, I was not in Virginia. I was in Chicago with, and I went to the Art Institute of Chicago. And I was talking about, I don't understand why things, like, have to be functional but not beautiful anymore.
Right. We can do both.
Exactly. But, I mean, yes, it costs more money, but, like, I think it really gives something for a building to be beautiful.
Right.
Construction was halted with the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. The Virginian government demanded that the unused construction materials and funds be sent back to Richmond for the Confederacy to use for the war. However, the 7th Ohio Volunteer Infantry seized the money from the local bank and took it to Wheeling, where it was put towards the reorganized government of Virginia, which had sided with the North. So Virginia used to be much bigger, but a part of Virginia actually broke off and sided with the North.
So Virginia sided with the North, West Virginia sided with the South.
No, opposite. Because in 1863, the area of the reorganized government of Virginia was admitted to the Union as West Virginia.
That's crazy.
And the hospital was renamed the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane.
Mm-hmm.
So West Virginia is west and a little bit north of Virginia.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it sided with the North.
Oh.
And it was 2 years into the war that it became an official state. But all of West Virginia, up until this point, was just part of Virginia.
Huh.
So Virginia used to be a much larger state.
The more you know.
The first patients were admitted in 1864, but construction would continue until 1881. That's nearly 20 years.
It is a big building.
It's huge.
But it shouldn't take that long, I see. Maybe like 10 years? Maybe even like 5. I don't know.
Well, also war was going on.
Yeah.
The hospital was designed to be totally self-sufficient with its own farm, dairy, waterworks, morgue, and cemetery, all situated on 666 acres.
Okay, that's 666. Foreshadowing, girl.
I had to bring that in. That was just too spooky to not.
Right, that's foreshadowing, girl. 666 acres.
As you mentioned, this place is huge. It is the largest hand-cut stone building in North America, and the second largest hand-cut stone building in the world behind the Kremlin in Moscow in Russia.
That's why it took so long. They hand cut the stones, girl. That had taken fucking forever.
Yes, and it has over 2 miles of hallways, which were built to house 250 patients.
Ooh.
Remember that.
Okay, 250 patients.
That's what it was built for.
It's up here.
In 1913, in deference to the negative connotation of the word lunatic, the hospital's name was changed to the Weston State Hospital. The first patient admitted was a housewife who was admitted for, quote, domestic issues, unquote.
And we know what actually happened there. Her husband didn't like her anymore and probably locked her up. Because that's the shitty things people did back in the day.
I'm going to give you a brief list of the conditions for which people were admitted to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Okay.
Asthma, egotism, grief, seduction, novel reading, congestion of the brain, laziness, masturbation, religious enthusiasm, superstition, alcohol and drug abuse, and mental derangement. I don't know about you, but there's several things on there that I could be admitted for.
Right. And I'm going to stop you there for my first story about my visit to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. So, as you said there were things like that people were admitted for. When you first go on the tour, everyone who signs up for the tour, you get a packet and a certificate, right? And on that certificate tells you why you were put into, admitted to the insane asylum, right? I'm not someone, I don't believe in coincidences, okay? I think everything happens for a reason and there are no coincidences. So, it was me, my brother, and my mom. The certificate my brother got was actually, he was admitted for asthma on his certificate.
Okay.
My brother has asthma.
Okay.
And then the certificate I got was for color blindness. And I have red-green color blindness.
You do.
Now, my mom's, sorry mom, but hers was more along the lines of the seductive sexual one, so, But
has your mother ever seduced someone?
I don't know. We're gonna steer away from that, but...
Kathy, you can tell me I am not your son. I'm just your son's friend, and we can be friends and you can tell me.
Oh my gosh. But the other two, just the fact that we got those packets and, these people had no idea about it. We're just, random people on a ghost tour. There's no way they would know my brother has asthma or I, even have red... There's no way.
Yeah.
People don't know until I tell them that I have red-green color blindness. And
some of your pictures from childhood where you show me, I picked out my own outfit. I go, yeah.
Yeah. That was so... that blew my mind when that happened. I was like, okay, something's gonna go down when we're going through this place. That was
surprised
crazy.
Because my little list here was just, things that you shouldn't be admitted to a mental hospital for. And I'm surprised colorblindness did not come up in my research for this list.
Right. That was one of the craziest things. That blew my mind. Right off the bat for the tour.
As we discussed, many of the people who were admitted showed absolutely no fucking signs of mental illness.
Imagine that.
Especially women who would be dumped there by their husbands.
Oh my gosh.
It was very common, female hysteria syndrome, which...
The vapors.
These are two made up mental illness conditions by men who don't want to deal with women.
That's crazy.
And so I didn't have it here on my official list, but I'm sure female hysteria syndrome, hysteria, the vapors were numerous for the women who are admitted here.
That makes me sad.
And unlike in England at this time, insanity was a grounds for divorce.
Really?
Yeah. So if you could have your wife declared insane, you could divorce her.
That's crazy.
But you would have to dump her in an insane asylum so that she wouldn't sue you for alimony.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like some men would just dump their wives here and then pick up with another woman as if nothing had happened.
Right. And I imagine there wasn't any real doctor involvement. These women weren't actually diagnosed with anything.
Well, we're going to come back to how doctors didn't know what was going on in a second.
Period. Okay.
This laundry list caused the admissions for the hospital to swell far beyond the 250 it was designed for. By 1880, there were 770 patients.
Say that number for me one more time.
It was designed for 250. 250 times 2 is 700. There were 770.
That's crazy.
In 1938, there were 1,661. In 1949, there were over 1,600. And at its peak in the 1950s, there were over 2,600 patients. Over 10 times the capacity the hospital was built for.
Who allowed this? What was going on? Who let this happen?
The doctors. Because they were just like, oh, your wife's hysterical. Yeah, she can come in.
Right. That's insane. And there's no way they had the staffing for that shit.
No, they didn't. The severe overcrowding led to other problems such as neglect, because there weren't enough nurses and doctors to patients.
Right.
As well as violence, because the doctors and nurses used absolutely brutal methods to control the patients, such as solitary confinement, straitjackets, electroshock therapy, and lobotomies.
Craziness.
Lobotomies became a very common practice at the hospital after the induction, and the hospital is actually host to the West Virginia Lobotomy Project, directed by Dr. Walter Freeman, and it was a project using lobotomies to try and clear out asylums of their overcrowding. A lobotomy, for those of you who don't know, is a discredited medical procedure involving the severing of connections of the brain's prefrontal cortex to the rest of the brain to treat mental disorders. The prefrontal cortex is like the emotional part of the brain. So by severing those connections, your emotions don't get to the rest of the brain. Your brain can't send sensors to there to create emotion. However, they often list patients unable to continue to function on their own and would leave them with cognitive and emotional issues. One of the most famous patients of a lobotomy was Rosemary Kennedy, sister of future President John F. Kennedy. She experienced seizures and mood swings in her youth and was given a lobotomy under arrangement by her father, Ambassador Joseph P. Kennedy, in 1941 at the age of 23.
Oh my gosh.
The lobotomy rendered her speechless and incapable of caring for herself further. Her surgeon, none other than Dr. Walter Freeman, diagnosed her as having some form of depression.
That's insane.
The fact that she just had some form of depression and he just cut her brain open. And this was terrible because what they did was they cut her skull open and they inserted a butter knife. And she was kept awake. And they would swipe the butter knife back and forth while she was reciting the Lord's Prayer or singing God Bless America. And based on whether or not she was able to recite or sing it, they would know if they went too far.
That is I can't even imagine. I don't even want to think about that.
That's how terrible this procedure was.
Jesus Christ.
Of the 20,000 lobotomies performed in the entire United States, over 3,500 were performed at the Weston State Hospital. Of all lobotomies performed in the United States, 74% of them were performed on women.
See, that doesn't sit right with me.
No, it's not right.
All.
It's not right because men have been using mental illness as an excuse to get rid of women.
And fuck that. That's not cool. That's not cute. And we do not support that on the pod.
And what gets me is one relative said to me once, because I have anxiety, I have depression. And they said to me, I think you're suffering from female hysteria syndrome. And I said, excuse me? And they said, well, my Aunt Dorothea, she had the female hysteria syndrome after she gave birth to her second son, Richie.
It's called postpartum
and
depression.
she had to go to a spa to recover. She had postpartum depression.
Right,
But, at the time it was, she has female hysteria syndrome.
That's crazy.
No, she had postpartum depression. And also, I just have depression and general anxiety disorder. Get over it. Now, the treatment of patients was downright barbaric. Many were kept in cages.
Oh my gosh.
Others were chained to the wall. Many of them were kept naked and left in cages or chained to walls for weeks or months, even through the winter, despite the building lacking proper heating. Doctors and scientists would regularly use patients as guinea pigs for experimental treatments and therapies to cure mental illness. Because as we discover with lobotomies, they had no idea what they were doing.
Right.
In 1949, the Charleston Gazette would run an expose on the terrible conditions of the hospital, namely that it lacked proper heating, proper lighting, that hallways were filled with feces, because the patients were being checked on.
Right.
Violence continued to spread through the hospital, and not just by the doctors and nurses on their patients, but between patients themselves. Because the patients far outnumbered the employees, chaos just absolutely reigned.
Oh, I can imagine.
Rapes, murders, and suicides were rampant. One patient was stabbed multiple times and died crawling to the nurse's station to ask for help.
That is so awful. I can't even imagine.
In one horrific instance, 2 patients turned on their roommate for, quote, stealing their oxygen, unquote. They tried to hang him with his own bed sheets, but after trying to lift him off the floor and realizing they weren't going to do it, decided that they were going to force him to the ground, press the metal bed frame against his head, and began to jump up and down on the bed until his skull was pulverized.
That's insane. And that's happening with supposed medical professionals and professionals keeping...
They weren't keeping an eye on them.
Right. Like, exactly. That's why...
The fact that, like, people are admitting their family members because they don't have the wherewithal to care for them, and this is going on. Nurses were often attacked. Multiple went missing, and one was confirmed to have been murdered. She went missing from her shift, and people just thought that she had up and quit. And months later, her decomposing body was found hidden underneath an unused staircase. Somebody murdered her and just left her under a staircase that they knew wasn't used.
And it took them months to find.
Months.
That's insane. And I feel like I shouldn't even be using the word insane for this because, like...
No, it is insanity because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's the thing. Multiple people are being harmed and abused, and somehow the people in charge are expecting it not to happen.
Right.
And yes, I am yelling because I am aggravated.
Because this story is awful, it's insane, and I feel for every single person that had to go through this.
And this continued. In 1985, Brian Scott B., who was a patient, committed suicide in his room and was not found for 8 days.
Bitch, how do you not check on someone for 8 days? What's going on? Like...
These continuing attacks led to yet another expose in the Charleston Gazette, which reported that court-appointed inspectors found the hospital dirty and unkempt, patients left naked and unattended in filthy wards. That was in the 1980s. And in 1992, they released yet another, the third expose about the conditions here.
How are they releasing these exposés and no one is doing anything? Like, what is going on, Samantha?
Well, between the expose in the 80s and the expose in the 1990s, Governor Archer Moore announced in 1989 his plans to build a new state-of-the-art state mental hospital and turn Western State Hospital into a prison. And he actually directed state funds to begin the conversion work until the state legislature found that the conversion was unconstitutional. The government of West Virginia was turning a hospital into a prison while patients were still there.
What? That's insane. Like, how were they like putting up bars while they...
I don't know what they must have. Like, well, also it's a mental hospital. There were probably already bars on the windows.
Right, for sure, yeah.
But like they were like constructing cells and guard towers while there are still mental illness patients in the hospital.
That's crazy. And as we all know, like, wait, never mind. I was going to say that trespassing on construction sites is considered a federal crime and you can get a felony for that. But I guess that doesn't really have anything to do with that.
Well, finally, in May 1994, Western State Hospital finally closed due to a court order following many lawsuits filed by the victims or the family of victims admitted to the hospital. Because people are admitting their family members because they have to work and they can't give them the care they need. And then they're finding out their loved ones are chained naked to a wall in a ward that hasn't had heat since 1900.
Right. And I have to wonder, like, are these people actually checking on their family member? Like, do people work? No, I mean,
Well,
like, what was
I'm
going
sure
on?
in the early
Samantha?
history, no.
Yeah.
Because the practice was if you had somebody with illness, you would just send them away and not mention them ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, coming on the 80s and the 90s, it was totally different. It was, you were checking them in the hospital because you couldn't give them the care they needed. And you expected them to get that care in a hospital, not be chained to a wall naked.
Exactly. Like,
I'm sorry. I love, like, in my high school, I always worked with the special education kids, and I love them. And they're not, like, some people are like, oh, they're slow. No, they're not slow. They just learn in a different way than us. And they are some of the most beautiful, kind-hearted people.
right.
And it breaks my heart that these people, these beautiful, kind-hearted people who have nothing but love in their souls are being admitted to these hospitals and subjected to torture.
Exactly.
That's not even that.
Torture that'll make their conditions worse. And
Not even that this is torture that's not even banned by the Geneva Convention, but that there are countries where terrorists wouldn't even consider this form of torture because it's too brutal.
it's insane. And like, imagine like there's people who aren't even mentally ill in there, and that they probably like ended up going mentally ill because of being in there.
I need a cold compress because I am getting a little hysterical over this.
It's really awful what happened to these people, and I know those at home are used to our comedy and whatnot, but some topics like this, they deserve the sincerity.
Now, the hospital now operates as a tourist attraction and museum with a variety of ghost tours and paranormal investigations under its original and unused name of Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
While it was open, it never formally used that name. It was founded as the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, but it was only opened as the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane and then changed to the Western State Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The grounds are still home to over 2,000 graves of patients who died in the hospital. And now I'm going to get a little bit into the hauntings.
Yeah, like, I mean, a place like this, all the emotion, the atrocities, like, there is no way a place like this isn't haunted. Like, all the lost souls.
The hauntings began even before the building was complete.
Oh, really? Holy shit, tell me about that. That's crazy.
There are stories of builders who would only last a few days on the construction project before being scared off by mysterious noises and sightings of disembodied figures.
No way. Like, while they were building it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, also, West Virginia is very haunted.
That's very
Like,
true.
the land is very haunted. We talked about this a little bit on our Mothman episode.
Yeah, it's an ancient land, like...
It is, and, like, there were so many Native Americans who lived there who were forced off of their land.
Right. And if you scroll through TikTok you see all of the videos about haunted Appalachia and what goes on there.
Coal mines.
Exactly. Like, the Appalachian Mountains are very haunted and very spooky.
Now I'm going to get into some specific ghosts. So, in one ward, there's the ghost of Ruth. She's in the Civil War wing, and she's the ghost of a former patient. In life, she hated men and would attack any man who came near her.
Mm-hmm.
I only wonder what a man did to her to cause her to react that way.
Very that.
Now, her ghost is known to push men against walls and make whistling noises to sort of attract them down the hallway.
Jeez.
Like, to get them to come down, and then she slams them against the wall.
That would be crazy.
But once again, what did a man do to her to cause this reaction?
Exactly.
On the second floor in on the second floor in Ward 2,
Mm-hmm.
this is where several very violent occurrences happened that linger to this day. One is that of a man who was stabbed 17 times and died while crawling for help.
Craziness.
2 patients also hung themselves from curtain rods. Their shadows are seen swinging just above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been EVPs captured of demands to get out. On the 3rd floor is the ghost of the man whose head was crushed by the bed frame, and he haunts the room where he was murdered.
Imagine that.
Also on the 3rd floor is the ghost of a nurse named Elizabeth, who may have been the ghost of the woman whose body was found beneath the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the 3rd floor is the ghost of a ghost named Big Jim, who likes cigarettes.
I think I was actually in that room. I think
Yeah,
I remember
if you
that
go
story.
and you offer him cigarettes, he'll respond.
I think I remember that story, yeah.
The 4th floor is perhaps the most famously haunted floor. It is inhabited by Lily, who is the ghost of a young girl who lived her entire life in the asylum. Her mother was a patient who was admitted while pregnant and gave birth to her and died in childbirth. She was kept in the asylum and raised there. Tragically, she died at the age of 9 from pneumonia. Her ghost remains in her room surrounded by toys, and she will play with them and with her favorite music box. The 3rd floor hallway is patrolled by a soldier named Jacob, probably dating from the Civil War, because not only were the funds captured from the local bank, but also the hospital was used as a fortress by the North during the war.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
But perhaps the most terrifying entity is that of the creeper. This entity crawls along the floor, slamming doors along its way as the sounds of its breathing gets louder and louder as it approaches you. Paranormal investigators report that the other spirits are absolutely terrified of this mysterious entity, which is said to eat souls.
I was actually going to bring that up. I remember that story and them talking about the creeper.
And that's all my notes, so please, Paul, have at it.
Well, there's a few instances I remember from being in there. So we went on the tour, right, and where we're going through and things, and there were a few places and opportunities where they asked for volunteers where you could, like, be in the places, like, by yourself and whatnot. And, of course, I volunteered because I love spooky things. Right. I love evidence. The first place I really volunteered, there was this one room and there was a shower, and there was a gentleman who had died in there, and he liked to touch people in the shower because he was a pervert when he died. But he was a perv, or whatever he did, and
he needed them.
From what I remember, he liked younger people and whatnot. Gross, yeah. So obviously I volunteered to, like, stand in the shower because they were like, usually if you stand in the shower, like, things will happen. And they gave me an EVP, not EVP, what's the meter thing that reads
electromagnetic, yeah, I know what you mean. EMF reader.
Yeah, an EMF reader. And then I got in the shower and I was like, is there anyone here? And things like that. Everyone's watching me. And the electric meter went off a little bit, right? I mean, I didn't feel anything, but the electric meter went off. But also, like, I was, like, probably 21 at the time, so I was probably above what that guy was interested in. Because when I say young, he was interested in young.
He was a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly. So I got in the shower and, like, nothing happened or whatever. So I was a little disappointed in that. One of my main goals in going there was trying to see something or do something. So, like, there was, like, 1 or 2 points where they let us, like, go off by ourselves and whatnot and things. And I would, like, sneak around doorways and, like, try and get pictures real quick, try and catch something. Spoiler alert, I didn't catch anything on my photos, unfortunately. And again, I will say, this is a believer podcast. I believe in all this stuff. So, like, I was disappointed I didn't catch anything on any of my photos or anything. And remember what you said about the 4th floor being one of the most haunted floors?
Yes.
We were up in the 4th floor in this room by ourselves. Not by ourselves. We were in this room, the whole group was, and then there was a little closet area. I forget exactly what ghost was in that closet area, but they asked for a volunteer to sit alone in the closet.
Right.
And of course, like, I volunteered, like, so I go in and I sit, like, in the closet by myself, and I'm in the dark, and I'm like, is anyone here? You can touch me, like, what's going on? And nothing happened, and I'm very sad that nothing happened, because I so bad wanted something to happen to me.
Maybe you're just not sensitive.
Maybe not.
Like, not sensitive enough?
Maybe. I mean, I didn't get touched or anything. And then I came out and like you could tell the ghost tour person was like trying to hype it up. Was like, did it feel like you were in there then longer than you were supposed to be? Did it feel like you were in there forever?
Like
And blah,
last
blah, blah.
time.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, no. And people probably thought I was just being like an asshole or like just being one of those dudes that's like, none of this is real. But like, I really
But
believe in
also, the
this
people
stuff.
who are like, no, this is real. They are the one who they get touched.
Right.
They get targeted.
Exactly. And I specifically remember the story about like the creeper, like you said. And there was an interesting story too. He told us about the tour people who work there. So apparently, your initiation as a tour guide for the ghost tours is they like take you up there and then they like,
Leave you?
yeah, exactly. They leave you and take your flashlight and you have to find your way back down.
Jesus!
Because there are people who get lost on those tours, so you have to be able to find your
2
way.
miles of
Yeah.
hallway? Yeah.
There's a story they told us of this girl who was on a Halloween tour and she got separated from like her like folks and like the whole group, so she was just lost in there. So people do get lost in there, like people wander off and things, like try as you might. And there it was a very safe tour and everything, and they are like they keep people online and stuff, but
Yeah.
like things happen.
Yeah, I was on their website and I was looking, and like, if you're going to do like a private tour, you have to get insurance and insure the owner against anything that happens against you. Like, you have to list them in your insurance policy.
Yeah, it is like a very old rundown building, so it's not only like the ghosts could come and get you and do bad things
Yes.
to you, it's also like hazardous things, like
Yes,
you're in the
I
dark.
should have mentioned that the man who owns it, he runs these tours for ongoing restoration of the building.
Yeah, because it's an older building. It is what it is. And I think that adds to the ambiance, too, of the tours. And I know I'm saying, like, I didn't experience anything while I was there, but I would still recommend going on the tour because things do happen and people do catch stuff on these tours. I just, like, maybe the ghosts just weren't active that day and I didn't
Yeah,
have
it
time.
happens.
Like, I would definitely go back there again and do more tours. And, like, I didn't even do the overnight tour. They have overnight tours where you stay a lot longer. I just did, like, the couple-hour tour. I would definitely recommend going there. It is spooky. The vibe is there. And if there's ghosts anywhere, it would be there. And you know what? Honestly, that creeper we were talking about, maybe that creeper is just that manifestation of all
Yes.
the negative...
Like a tulpa.
Yeah, or like... Yeah, just the manifestation of all that negative, gross
Anger, violence,
energy,
yes. I agree.
all morphed into one entity. But at the same time, I want to go back and talk about how there was hauntings before the building was even built. Because I feel like things like that can sometimes influence hauntings and can like add to it. Because if the land is haunted...
Yes, there are definitely instances of there are haunted places, there are haunted land,
Right.
and there are haunted people.
So was there a negative entity there already?
There could have been like, and also it's right on the banks of the river, and river is a huge conduit of spirituality.
Exactly, and energy in general.
I love meditating by water, and I was once told by a psychic, like, you definitely find your focus by water. And there are times where I'll just run a bath, and I won't even get into the bathtub, and I just meditate sitting next to the bathtub full of water.
Right, water has so much energy. It gives off negative ions, I think. Some sort. I forget if it's positive or negative ions, and it like helps cleanse the area around it.
Yeah, but even like running water, it's like the constant movement like can symbolize like the cleansing of the soul and like moving energy.
Exactly. And I also want to bring up the Conjuring House too, because if you watch Sam and Colby's documentary, it wasn't just the Conjuring House itself that was haunted, it was the land around it.
Very much that.
So
and
you
even
can-
Andrea Perrin says that. And I'm not going to do, we just did a Lizzie Borden 3-parter. And I know the Conjuring House is going to be a multi-parter because there's just so much. And Andrea Perrin has written 3 books on it, and there's so much out there on it. Because there is so much between spiritual, there's some demonic there. There's aliens.
Right, there's
Andrea
so much.
Perrin's Galactic Family. And I'm kind of holding off to do it because, like, Andrea Perrin will give interviews, but I want to get us a little bigger so that I can say, like, Andrea, please come on our podcast. Like,
Right.
we are real.
Right.
Because I would love to talk to Andrea about this stuff.
It would be so cool. But my point in bringing that up is, like, theory, maybe the land was haunted.
Yeah, or
and, like,
it could be a portal, because that's what Andrea Perrin says about the Conjuring houses. It is a supernatural portal disguised as a farmhouse.
Yeah. So,
And this land could have a portal on it somewhere.
yeah, maybe
Or,
the same thing happened.
honestly, I do believe that, like, all the feelings, because the number of, I'm sure, people who are admitted there against their will for conditions that weren't necessarily, mental illness,
Yeah.
that just all lends towards that negative feeling. And I do believe that could create some sort of portal,
Yeah.
vortex.
I could very much see it. I mean, there's all sorts of things it could be and all sorts of theories. But this place definitely haunted. And, like, I remember even watching the Ghost Adventures episode.
Oh, yeah. That's where I initially heard about this, and hearing that story about the man who had his head bashed in by the bed frame.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good episode of Ghost Adventures, honestly.
Yeah, and I remember they had the, like, cutaway of the, like, splatter.
Right? It's...
I don't do gore.
Right. But on a little bit lighter note, they do also have drag shows there.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Oh!
One of the girls I used to perform with, her name is Sade Spears. She does the drag shows there. And
Contact her. Diana and Mafia need to come back there.
Right.
The ghosts will love us.
Right. No.
Or maybe that will be the spot for our first drag paranormal investigation.
That would be iconic. Yeah, no, Sade, they do drag shows there from time to time. It's pretty iconic. So they're LGBT friendly too. So not only ghost friendly, but LGBT friendly. So if y'all want to do a Crips and Corks X Trans-Lunatic Asylum collab, hit us up. We're down. We'll come see y'all for sure. And yeah, this place, it's such an interesting story. I feel for all of those people. Yeah, it's an interesting building. And the past is very unfortunate. But if you're ever looking for spooky time and if you want to try and see some ghosts, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is the place to do it.
Definitely. And I will say, like, eventually, like, as much as I want to do, like, go on tour and have live shows, I also would love the idea of, like, being able to, like, have a Crips and Corks paranormal investigation where people can sign up for, like, a group tour.
All led by us?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be all sorts of stunt shows and shenanigans. That would be so much fun. I would love to lead a ghost tour through wherever. That would be so much fun. It would be so camp.
Just, like, partner, once we're big enough, partner with, like, one of these, like, Trans-Allegheny or, like, somewhere big like that has ghost tours, and be like, yeah, like, give us a tour guide, and, like, us and the tour guide are, like, leading it.
Right. It would be so fun. But if you do that, if you come on our tour, our ghost tour, we're taking that shit seriously, okay?
This is a Believer podcast.
Okay. There's going to be some jokes, but when I say it's time to be serious, we're taking shit serious.
All right. Well, Paul, anything for the greater good?
No, this was an interesting story. I really enjoyed this episode. I love talking about ghosts and all this stuff, and well, obviously I love talking about it. We have a paranormal podcast, but yeah, I liked this episode. It was good. I hope we do more interesting stories like this in the future. Not that our other stories aren't interesting.
Now that we're out on the seaboard, and I have like a whole slew of ideas.
Period. I feel like
we also did last week.
Titanic.
We haven't recorded it yet. Titanic ghost stories with citrus cyanide.
I feel like this is a turning episode for us. Maybe we're getting a little more serious. Ooh. Imagine me.
We're definitely getting into it. But please, folks, if you have paranormal stories of your own or episode suggestions, please email us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. That is all written out. If you would like to follow us on Facebook, please follow us at Crips and Corks. You can type us right in there. You can follow us on Twitter at Crips and Corks. And on TikTok and Instagram both, you can follow us at Crips and Corks Pod. We post a ton on both of those. All of our photo dumps are on Instagram, and we do a lot of fun TikToks. If you'd like to follow me, you can follow me at The Real Deej Powers on Instagram and TikTok. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paulember, Paulember, and my personal TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And I really recommend go checking out our Twitter because I really have some wild things DJ lets me post on there, and I think they're real funny, so I'd go check it out.
Yeah, Paul's musings of the day.
Go check it out. And as usual, it's not delivery. It's DiGiorno.
I was waiting for that. Well, on that note, we will see you all again next week. And when you listen to this, Paul will already be back from Ireland, but this will be probably the last time I see you in person. No, we're in the office together next week, but have a wonderful time in Ireland. As somebody who's been there, it is a beautiful place. And as an Irish person, I say sláinte.
Sláinte. And follow our socials if you want to see some of my adventures. We'll see if I meet the Lucky Charms guy.
We hope so. And remember to keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye! Ooh, what? Ooh, what? Ooh, what? Oh my god, I could use a ham slider.